Jesse Rooke didn't just build bikes, he shattered the mold and transformed an industry. But on a clear Phoenix day in 2019, the visionary who lived on the edge met a silent, unsolved end that still haunts the custom motorcycle world. How could someone so precise, so connected to the ride, just vanish? No answers, no noise, just one final ride into mystery. Jesse Rooke wasn't just another builder in the world of custom bikes. He was a force of style, rebellion, and innovation in a sea of chrome and conformity. His bikes weren't about excess or ego. They were about vision, motion, movement, and raw expression that dared you to redefine what a custom motorcycle could be. Then on April 5th, 2019, on a quiet day in Phoenix, Arizona, he was gone. Unlike the old-school legends who cut their teeth in biker clubs and greasy garages, Jesse came at custom building sideways. He originated from the motocross scene, not the traditional biker world. He didn't care about playing by the rules or paying dues. He cared about the craft and designing something no one had seen before. Fighting the effects of a previous accident that left him semi-paralyzed and barely able to walk for more than 2 years, Rooke decided to channel his energy into custom motorcycles during his recovery, launching Jesse Rooke Customs in Huntington Beach, California. What Jesse lacked in tradition, he more than made up for in vision. In the early 2000s, that vision took shape as Dinah, a custom bike that didn't just turn heads, it spun the entire industry around. Dinah was light, sporty, and minimal. It tossed out the bulky, stretch look of typical choppers and replaced it with something clean, tight, and fast. It looked like a sport bike until you realized it wasn't, and once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. That build launched Jesse into the stratosphere. Cycle World ran features, Discovery Channel came calling, and suddenly this motocross rebel was a rising star in a world he was never supposed to fit into. Jesse's embrace of amateur road racing, motocross, and BMX racing in his early years informed his unique design style, which stirred together equal parts form, function, and simplicity into builds that performed well and looked stunning. He had no lineage, no mentor, no decades apprenticing under established names, just raw talent, raw instinct, and the boldness to ask, what if? Fame didn't polish Jesse Rooke, it made him sharper. As the spotlight grew, Jesse didn't soften his edges. He sharpened them. While some builders played the game, pleasing sponsors, catering to trends, and streamlining their style for marketability, Jesse did the opposite. He doubled down on his instincts and refused to dilute the designs that got him noticed in the first place. His shop, Rooke Originals, didn't feel like a brand machine. It felt like a design lab, a place where each bike was a prototype of possibility, where no two builds looked the same and every curve had a purpose. His creations challenged what a custom could be. One bike might echo Formula One engineering, another might draw from cafe racers, flat track, or desert race machines. Jesse made several appearances on Discovery Channel's Biker Build Off, with an early episode pitting his KTM-powered board tracker, Darla, against Roland Sands' race-bred No Regrets. Darla took the metric class championship at the AMD World Championship of Custom Bike Building at Sturgis in 2006. To the industry's traditionalists, Jesse was a wild card. Some loved him, some didn't get him at all, but no one could ignore him. He was notorious for working alone or with a tight circle of collaborators, people who could handle the pace and the perfectionism. Jesse wasn't just building bikes, he was building ideas, and not everyone could keep up. When asked what made his bike stand out from other customs, Rooke simply replied, "Their appearance tells a story about the rider. His bikes weren't built to fit a category, they created new ones." Where most builders leaned into tradition, Jesse twisted the formula. Where others added everything, he simplified. Where many followed genre lines, cafe racer, bobber, tracker, chopper, he merged them like brushstrokes. But with that defiance came pressure. Sponsorships brought expectations, media demanded deadlines, and the fan base, hungry for the next Rooke masterpiece, never let up. There were whispers that Jesse didn't sleep much, that he'd sometimes lock into a design and disappear from the world until it was done, that he never stopped moving. Still, he didn't break. He didn't bend. He just kept pushing, because that's what Jesse did. He chased the edge, and the edge, when you live on it, doesn't always give second chances. April 5th, 2019, a quiet Friday in Phoenix, Arizona. Jesse Rooke was riding a KTM motorcycle. Fast, light, aggressive, just like the bikes he built. No big convoy, no film crew, just a man and a machine. Witnesses said he was alone. The weather was clear, the road was open. He was riding on Bell Road in Phoenix, a road he likely knew well. But then something happened. Jesse lost control. He was thrown from the bike, and in that single brutal moment, Rooke, the rebel builder, the design visionary, the man who had redefined an entire subculture, was gone. He was 45 years old. No other vehicles were involved. No drugs or alcohol were reported. No mechanical failure was ever confirmed. The police report was sterile and clinical. Loss of control, fatal injury. Just like that. To fans, it didn't compute. How could a rider this skilled, this seasoned, be taken out on a regular street in daylight? It wasn't just tragic, it was confusing. The questions came fast and they never really stopped. Was it a split-second lapse, a mechanical fluke, a moment of distraction, or something deeper? Burnout, exhaustion, the weight of always being on. His death stunned the motorcycle world. In the days following Jesse Rooke's death, a strange thing happened. The story stopped. No follow-up, no deeper investigation, no autopsy released to the public. Just silence. Official reports stated that Jesse lost control of his KTM motorcycle, but they didn't say why. Those close to him offered no details, only grief. Maybe there were no answers. Maybe the man who spent 2 decades pushing limits simply met the one he couldn't see coming. Within hours of Jesse Rooke's death, social media exploded, not with headlines, but heartbreak. On Instagram, @Roland Sands wrote, "Jesse and I became fast friends when he showed up to Sturgis with a bike called Dinah that still resonates today. I just want to say thanks for being the man you were and for pushing me and being an inspiration." In Phoenix, riders organized a memorial cruise in his honor. No big sponsors, no corporate banners, just 100 bikes riding in silence, engines echoing through desert air as a tribute to the man who redefined the build and the ride. It wasn't just the loss of a person, it was the loss of a pulse. Jesse Rooke represented something few dared to be anymore: uncompromised. Builders today still study his lines, still post his older builds with captions like "goals" or "this was the one," still mimic the geometry he made famous without even knowing it. You can see echoes of Rooke's influence in bikes, from revival cycles, Roland Sands' design, and even some of the concept builds coming out of big OEMs like Yamaha and BMW. Jesse Rooke wasn't here to be remembered only for how he died. He's here to be remembered for the way he lived, loud in vision, quiet in ego, fearless in craft, persistent in pushing boundaries. After 20 years in total silence, a forgotten garage just disclosed Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s secret, an untouched race car he personally ordered hidden with a haunting note: "Never fix this. Let it remember for me." This isn't just a vehicle. It's the last untold chapter of a NASCAR legend's life, sealed in steel and heartbreak. Dale Earnhardt Sr. wasn't just another NASCAR driver. He was NASCAR itself. Born in Kannapolis, North Carolina, this blue-collar son of a racer became the most feared competitor on the track. The black number 3 wasn't just a car number, it was a warning that a fight was coming. They called him the Intimidator for good reason. Over his 27-year career, Dale racked up 76 Winston Cup victories and 7 championships. He was the last of a dying breed. Fierce, fearless, and unapologetic. Every lap felt like war. Every pass was personal. He'd bump you, block you, and do it with that sly grin, because while other drivers raced with their hands, he raced with his heart. When Dale died in that last lap crash at Daytona in 2001, it shocked motorsports. Grown men cried, flags flew at half-staff. It wasn't just a legend lost, it was a sense of invincibility shattered.
The 3 car down. Oh, big trouble. Big wreck behind them. Lead him back. Come on.
You okay?
Saw the crash and saw the cars sitting over there and saw the ambulances and everything, and it looked really dramatized and really dramatic looking, and it just looked.
After Earnhardt's death in 2001, most of his race-used vehicles were accounted for. They were displayed in museums, sold to collectors, or carefully stored by Richard Childress Racing. But there was one outlier: a car with a chassis number unknown to the public that simply dropped off the map. It wasn't the car that won the Daytona 500. It wasn't part of a championship season, but it had history. Insiders remember it racing during the late 1990s, likely 1997 or 1998. One race in particular stood out: a wreck-heavy superspeedway run where Dale got tangled up mid-pack and finished without fanfare. After that race, the car disappeared. No post-race photos, no official logs, not even a mention in RCR's archives. Speculation ran wild. Some thought it had been scrapped, others believed it was cannibalized for parts, but the strangest rumor suggested that Earnhardt himself had personally pulled it from rotation and ordered it locked away, privately, quietly, and without explanation. To the public, it was just another lost chassis. But to those who knew Dale, that silence spoke volumes. He wasn't the type to let sentiment interfere with racing, at least not publicly. But when this car vanished without a trace, some crew members started asking questions. Why this car? Why now? And why did Dale, so meticulous and methodical, make sure this one was never seen again? Not far from Mooresville, North Carolina, NASCAR's de facto capital, sits a quiet stretch of farmland once owned by the Earnhardt family. It's now largely overgrown, dominated by a cinderblock garage. Windowless, no power, steel-reinforced doors, no markings, just a lock so old it had rusted shut. A restoration team bought the land in 2023, not knowing what lay on the far end. They were interested in reclaiming the barns for parts storage, but when they saw the garage, they paused. It wasn't just old, it looked deliberately forgotten. Curiosity turned to obsession. They called in a locksmith, cut through vines, and finally, after hours of sweating in the Carolina heat, they cracked the door open. What they found: dust, silence, the smell of old oil and rubber. It looked like something someone had protected. They flipped on their phones, turned on flashlights, and slowly pulled back the cover. What lay beneath? A black stock car, intact, untouched, and on the side, ghosted outlines of a familiar number. The tarp came off slowly, corners stiff from time. Light beamed off faded good-wrench decals and oxidized chrome. Beneath 2 decades of dust sat a time capsule, a Chevrolet Monte Carlo, late 1990s spec, complete with worn Goodyear Eagles and a scuffed roll cage. But this wasn't just any car. It was his car. The number 3 wasn't painted, but the outline was there, faint beneath the grime. It had been deliberately rubbed out almost respectfully, but you could still see it. The black paint scheme, the placement of the decals, even the seat still contoured with the shape of Dale's custom molded padding. This car had not been moved in over 20 years. No one had opened the doors. The tires, though cracked, were fully inflated. The windshield was dusty but intact. Inside, resting on the passenger floorboard, was a folded piece of paper, a handwritten note. They opened it carefully. 9 chilling words. "Never fix this. Let it remember for me." DE double quote. Was it real? The penmanship was consistent with Dale's old notes from RCR. Analysts later confirmed a high probability of authenticity. Whatever this car represented, Dale didn't want it erased. He wanted it preserved, frozen in time. Not for the public, not for profit, but for a reason only he understood. As experts and historians arrived on site, documentation began. This wasn't a replica. This wasn't a fan build. It was real, down to the RCR chassis code faintly stamped near the firewall. Race-worn, unrestored, not even washed. On the fenders, the cracked remnants of Winston Cup decals from 1997. The roll cage showed signs of reinforcement added mid-season, likely after a wreck. The data log box was still wired in. The serial number dated just months before the infamous Talladega Tangle. The driver's seat was molded rigid and unmistakably Earnhardt's, black padding outlined by years of sweat and adrenaline. The harness was still buckled, the steering wheel custom lathed for his grip, resting in the footwell like someone had just stepped out. But what truly stopped the crew cold was that note. 9 words, handwritten in black marker. Never fix this. let it remember for me. It wasn't a signature. It wasn't a showpiece. It was personal, private, emotional. The crew's research led them to one race, a hot spring afternoon in 1997, the Die Hard 500 at Talladega Superspeedway, a race that was brutal from the start. Speeds exceeded 200 miles per hour. The track was slick, tensions were high. Dale had started strong, running top 5 for most of the day. But on lap 142, everything changed. A miscalculation by a rookie driver triggered a massive pileup on the backstretch. Dale got clipped in the chaos and slammed the inside wall hard. Though he walked away from the crash with only bruises, his crew said something changed in him that day. It wasn't fear, it was frustration. He felt the field had become reckless, that the old-school code was being broken. For once, it wasn't about the wreck. It was about what racing was turning into. He parked the car after that weekend quietly. No rebuild, no teardown, just storage. One RCR mechanic remembered him saying, "That car has had its day." Let it rest. At the time, no one thought twice. They had a new chassis on deck for the next weekend. But now, decades later, with that note in hand, it seems like Dale meant more than anyone realized. Some fans now believe that Monte Carlo was more than just a wreck survivor. It was his emotional anchor, a moment frozen in steel. Historians call it the Earnhardt Echo, a moment in time where the sport pivoted, where Dale began showing signs of shifting, taking younger drivers under his wing, becoming more reflective, less aggressive, more protective of the future. Some say it was shame, that the crash represented a turning point he didn't want to relive. Others believe it was guilt, that maybe he blamed himself for something that happened in that race. But the theory gaining the most traction, it was protection. Dale didn't just seal away a car, he sealed away a memory. Not to erase it, but to guard it. Crew members who were with Dale at the time now recall small, strange comments in hindsight. "He never let us touch that one said. Another recalls a quiet moment when Dale said, "Some things don't need a second life."
Hey, I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to just give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all, at all. So I don't know, you think you silent treating me, and you think I'm going to be, nah. You'll have a rude awakening. You'll just have silence. And ain't nobody threatening you, and I ain't trying to go back and forth with no woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, I ain't got no time for no motherfucking games. Where my life is at right now, I don't have no time for no games, baby girl. Me and you could be mad, I could have a spat, we could have whatever. Then after that, you better get on your job. That's really, that's all it is. Cause you got me on my job. Nah, it ain't never gonna work like that over here. You know what I'm saying? I was trying not to leave this message, but you have left me no choice. So either you go in the direction of like moving on and shit like that, or you like just like have me just keep moving. Ain't no threat, I'm just being clear. I can't do this shit with you every time.
For over a decade, 50 Cent has dropped cryptic warnings, thrown shade, and called out names. But no one really listened. Now, as Diddy faces sex trafficking charges, all the twisted puzzle pieces are snapping into place. What if 50 was right all along? What if the parties, the cameras, the cash were all part of something far more disturbing? What's really going on with Diddy and 50 Cent? Back in 2010, 50 Cent received a bizarre and disturbing video message from Diddy. It showed a grainy clip allegedly featuring Kathy Venture, caught up in one of Diddy's infamous freak-offs, wild drug-fueled sex parties filled with secrecy, scandal, and hidden cameras. At the time, 50 didn't just feel shocked, he felt set up. "Why are you sending me this?" he later recounted. That moment stuck with him, and now, 15 years later, it's finally making sense. Fast forward to June 2025. That video might have been the key that unlocked a scandal decades in the making. Diddy's now facing serious charges: sex trafficking,